What's going on, everyone? It's Monday, so it's the start of a new week. It's actually going to be the last week before the Bitcoin conference. I'll be traveling up a little bit early, so it's going to be kind of a light week where I'm not going to be, pushing it too heavy, but I'm definitely going to, go and try to get at least a good pump to, not lose anything. I just don't want to push it too hard and, possibly injure myself or, have a strain or something like that right before I'm going on a vacation to have a good time at the conference, which there'll be a lot of walking around and stuff like that. So hopefully it's not too loud in here. I got the AC on. I tried to turn that off when I'm recording, but it's just way too hot in Arizona now, so you can't really avoid that. Yeah, so interesting. Bitcoin's still basically ranging in somewhat of the same range it's been at for a while, like 103 to 106, kind of $4,000 or $5,000 range for the last 2 weeks or so. So nothing exciting going on there. There's some indications that more of the tariff issues are going away. Things are working out quite well with that. The Fed, one of the Fed governors, indicated earlier today that the federal government is ready to inject some liquidity into the markets if needed, which it's interesting that they say that when we already know that, but why, what are they trying to signal? So we'll see what happens the next couple weeks. It'll be pretty exciting. I did something pretty interesting. I finally took a loan out. So I've been wanting to take a loan out where you basically put up Bitcoin as the collateral, you get cash as the loan, and with that cash, since I don't have anything I'm buying, I don't need any cash right now, I just want to buy more Bitcoin while it's still under $1 million per coin. So I ended up going with Strike, and it was pretty interesting. It only took about 2 minutes for the loan process. If I back up, so first time I move a large sum out of my cold storage, which I've done some test transactions, but I've done other transactions not from cold storage, just from different exchanges, different wallets and whatnot. And every time it takes a few minutes, and you're always wondering, is this still going to work? And it always works, but you still do a test transaction, and then you send it. There's the waiting game. So it took like 7 minutes for the block to confirm where my money was confirmed as deposited. But the actual loan process, going on the Strike app to get the loan, took me about 2 minutes. It probably would have taken 30 seconds, but I was taking screenshots along the way just to look at it and track the numbers of where I started the loan at. And as soon as I signed it, and did the agreement online, the moment I send it, the money's there. It took less than 2 seconds, basically. By the time I refresh the screen, it's already there. A deposit in cash in my Strike account. So then from there, I could just make my purchase, and I did, and I bought Bitcoin with that loan. Pretty interesting how they have the user interface set up. There's probably 3 lenders that I trust right now, at least as far enough to do a loan. Strike's one, Coinbase is one. I know a lot of people don't like Coinbase, but I trust them as far as not stealing my money. And the third one was one that's been an option for the last year or two, and LEDN. They're a Canadian company. I really wanted to focus on a company that was in Arizona, a company in the United States, just for some legal reasons and protections. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. It's still, you're implementing a form of trust in a trustless, in a trustless system. So it all depends on how much trust I'm willing to put into it. And I ended up going with Strike. Jack Mallers had said a couple days ago on 2 different interviews that he's hoping by the end of the month to have lower interest rates and different minimums and maximums for the amount of loan that can be taken out. So I may have jumped the gun a little bit, but I'm okay, because it may not happen. It may take them until next month. I don't want to play those kind of games where I wait for a better rate, and then he says, well, maybe in a couple more weeks we'll have even a better rate at that point. So I went ahead and did it. If anything, it'll be more of a test transaction, kind of a test use case for it. We'll see how that goes, and then I'm going to track it in my financial tracker and all that stuff. So I'm pretty excited to finally do that. So one of the key things, if you're ever going to do a Bitcoin backed loan, is you want to make sure you know what the price targets are, meaning not to the upside. That's, if you have a decision where you want to sell, yeah, sure, that's fine. I'm not really doing it to day trade, but more importantly, for example, with Strike, they will give you a warning once your loan to value ratio is 70%. So when the health of the loan is 70%, it'll give you a warning, and it'll actually, I think the warning starts at 60, but at 70 it'll give you a warning where you need to take action, and that's either pay off some of the loan or give more Bitcoin for collateral to bring that loan to value ratio down to 60%. And then at 85%, so we're talking like a huge market drop off that's pretty quick, where they don't have to give you 24 hours notice. They will actually just sell whatever part of the collateral they need to make your loan back to the 60% range. And there's some extra additional fees with that. So you absolutely want to avoid a liquidation event. Even if it's not 100% liquidation, any liquidation is not going to be good because you'll be losing money. So that's kind of the target of what I'll be looking at and watching for. I don't know why Tesla's doing this. I got the full self-drive on for the trip to the gym today, and it seems to have some problems with efficiently taking red lights on red when there's 2 lanes. But I mean, it does it. It's just not. It doesn't take it in the fast lane, so it just does it in 1 lane, which is slow, but whatever. It's just cautious. So yeah, a little lazy drive with the car's taking me to the gym today. So that's what I'm doing. Coinbase, they do a little bit different of a process. Like I said, although I trust Coinbase and I'm a fan, I didn't really want to go with them in the end. The nice thing is they don't have a minimum, whereas Strike, the minimum cash loan you need to take out is $75,000, max is at $2 million, which means you need to put up Bitcoin in the equivalent of 150,000 US dollars. So it's kind of it's a large sum just for the bare minimum for right now. Coinbase doesn't have that. Arizona has some kind of legal process where you can only take a loan out for $10,001 or higher if it's for personal use. If it's less than that, it can't be. It's kind of a weird thing. But Coinbase now no longer blocks you. Like you could do in Arizona, you could do a $1,000 loan. Now maybe when you go through the whole application process and you get to the end, maybe before you submit, there's a last check and it says no, I didn't go all the way through with that, so I'm not sure. It's roughly, similar interest rates. Theirs is a little different as an interest-bearing only one. If I remember right, I think it was like 8-point-something%, so it's a lot smaller. But what Coinbase does is they technically will custody the Bitcoin, and then they send to a third party wrapped Bitcoin. Because that third party company, which is Morpho, I think it's Morpho, they manage it, and they're the ones dealing with it. So that would take a little bit more research. I'd want to know a little bit more about them. And even then, it's not like you have a choice in the third party. You get this situation, and I'm not saying Coinbase is evil or bad like Sam Bankman-Fried, but FTX would talk about Alameda as a separate company, separate entity, when in fact they were commingling funds without telling the users anything. They were basically the same company. It was a huge way to defraud customers because they basically took money that wasn't for theirs take and gambled with it, and they had some problems, obviously. So I like Strikes a little bit better, but again, there is that added bit of trust that you have to put into this to get a loan. I mean, there's no way around that. If you want to get a loan from somebody, they're not just going to give you a loan without any collateral access. So it depends on risk tolerances, right, and what you feel comfortable doing. All right, well, enough of the mumbo jumbo on that. I'm pretty excited because it's going to be an easy day at the gym. It's going to be an easy week. I'm going to try my best to not be in there for 2.5 hours, which my gym buddy probably won't like. He's definitely a high volume, high rep, high set, exhaustion, not so much, muscle growth, but more just work until you can't do anything. I'm more about trying to trigger the muscles for that natural reaction of trying to stimulate growth. And I can normally do that in an hour or less as long as I go sufficiently heavy enough. But that won't be this week, so I'm not looking to grow this week. I'm just looking to maintain and not lose. So it'll be the first week that I go just to go and push some weight and get home. And then I'll have the week roughly in Vegas for the Bitcoin conference. Get there a little bit early, stay a little bit late. And then when I come back home, then I'll have to hit it hard again to start pushing myself growing. All right, well, I'll give you a couple more updates hopefully soon, but otherwise that's pretty much it. I would say I'm not nervous, but I am looking at the charts, because I just put a big chunk of money in. I'm not DCAing, I'm not diversifying. So I'm definitely curious how this works out as my first test run doing the loan. So I feel, even though I'm not day trading, I feel like a day trader. Checking out the charts, looking at the 1 minute chart, the 1 hour chart, the liquidity, the volume, like just I'm back in the trenches, it feels like. All right, well, hey, new shirt came in, repping this. Bitcoin, make money great again. All right, take care, guys.